The Last Dragon. Chapter 1. Lira had always dreamed of seeing a dragon. Ever since she was a little girl, she had been fascinated by the stories her grandfather told her about the majestic creatures that once ruled the skies. She loved to imagine what it would be like to fly on their backs, to feel their scales under her fingers, to hear their roars in her ears. But she knew it was only a fantasy. Dragons were extinct, killed by the ruthless empire that had conquered most of the world. The empire feared their power and their freedom, and hunted them down until none remained. The only traces of their existence were the bones and scales that some collectors and smugglers sold on the black market. Lira was one of those smugglers. She worked for a man named Rix, who ran a secret network of contacts and clients who dealt in illegal goods. Lira's job was to find and acquire rare and valuable items, such as dragon relics, ancient artifacts, or forbidden books. She was good at it, too. She had a knack for finding hidden places, avoiding guards, and bargaining with shady characters. She also had a secret weapon, magic. Lira was one of the few people in the world who could use magic, a gift that she inherited from her grandfather. Magic was outlawed by the Empire, who saw it as a threat to their authority. Anyone caught using magic was executed on the spot. Lira had to be careful not to reveal her abilities to anyone, not even Rix. She used magic sparingly, only when she needed it to get out of trouble or to enhance her skills. She could manipulate fire, water, air, and earth with her mind, but only in small amounts and for short periods of time. She didn't know much about how magic worked or where it came from. Her grandfather had taught her some basics before he died, but he had warned her not to delve too deep into the mysteries of magic. Magic is dangerous, he had said. It can corrupt you if you're not careful. It can make you greedy, arrogant, or cruel. It can also attract unwanted attention from those who would use you or destroy you. Remember, Lira, you are not special because you have magic. You are special because you have a good heart. Lira tried to follow his advice, but sometimes she wondered if there was more to magic than he had told her. Sometimes she felt a strange connection to something beyond herself, something ancient and powerful. Sometimes she heard whispers in her mind, calling her name. She ignored them. Chapter 2. Lira's latest assignment was to find and steal a dragon egg. She couldn't believe it when Rix told her. She thought he was joking at first. A dragon egg, she repeated incredulously. Yes, a dragon egg, Rix confirmed. One of our clients has requested it. He's willing to pay a fortune for it. But how is that possible? Lira asked. Dragons are extinct. Not quite, Rix said. There is one left. He showed her a map on his desk. It was an old map, stained and torn at the edges. It showed a continent that Lira had never seen before. This is Illyria, Rix said. The last free land in the world. The Empire hasn't conquered it yet. Why not? Lira asked. Because of this, Rix said, pointing at a mountain range that spanned across the continent. The Dragon's Pine Mountains. They are impassable by land or air. The Empire has tried to cross them many times, but they always fail. What's on the other side? Lira asked. Legend has it that there is a hidden valley where the last dragon lives. A dragon king, the oldest and wisest of his kind. He guards the secrets of his race and the source of all magic. Lira felt a shiver run down her spine. She looked at Rix with disbelief. "You want me to go there?" she asked. "Yes," Rix said. "You are the only one who can do it. You have magic, and you have skills. You can find a way to cross the mountains and to steal the egg." "But why?" Lira asked. "Why does the client want the egg?" Rix shrugged. "I don't know, and I don't care. He's paying me a lot of money, and I'm paying you a lot of money. That's all that matters." Lira hesitated. She felt a mix of fear and excitement. She wanted to see the last dragon, but she also felt guilty for stealing his egg. She wondered what he would do if he found out. "Are you in or out?" Rix asked impatiently. Lira made up her mind. "I'm in," she said. Chapter 3. Lira spent the next few days preparing for her journey. She packed a backpack with some clothes, food, water, tools, and weapons. She also bought a cloak that could change color to blend in with different environments. She wore it over her leather jacket and pants, which were designed to protect her from the cold and the heat. She also studied the map that Rix had given her. She memorized the landmarks and routes that could lead her to the Dragon's Pine Mountains. She knew it would be a long and dangerous trip, but she was determined to succeed. She left at night when the streets were empty and dark. She avoided the main roads and took shortcuts through alleys and rooftops. She used her magic to create small distractions or illusions to evade any patrols or checkpoints. She reached the outskirts of the city without being noticed. She stole a horse from a stable and rode it until dawn. She then abandoned it and continued on foot. She crossed fields and forests, hills and rivers, villages and towns. She met some people along the way, but she kept her distance and her identity hidden. She didn't trust anyone. She reached the border of Illyria after 2 weeks of travel. She saw a large wall that separated it from the rest of the world. The wall was made of stone and metal and had towers and gates at regular intervals. It was guarded by soldiers wearing red uniforms and helmets. Lira waited until nightfall before approaching the wall. She found a spot where there was no gate or tower, only a small gap between two sections of the wall. She used her magic to create a fire on the other side of the wall, hoping to draw the attention of the guards away from her location. She then climbed over the wall, using her cloak to camouflage herself against the dark sky. She landed softly on the ground and ran into the shadows. She had entered Illyria. Chapter 4. Lira was amazed by what she saw in Illyria. It was unlike anything she had ever seen before. The land was lush and green, full of life and beauty. There were flowers and trees of every color and shape, birds and animals of every size and sound, rivers and lakes of crystal clear water, mountains and valleys of breathtaking views. The people were also different from those in the empire. They were free and happy, living in harmony with nature and each other. They wore colorful clothes made of natural fabrics, adorned with jewels and feathers. They sang songs and played instruments, danced and laughed, celebrated and worshipped. They also had magic. Lira saw them use magic for various purposes: to heal wounds, to grow crops, to light fires, to communicate with animals, to fly in the air. She felt a surge of envy and curiosity. She wanted to learn more about their magic, their culture, their history. But she also knew she had to be careful. She didn't know how they would react if they discovered who she was or what she was doing there. She decided to avoid contact with them as much as possible. She stayed away from their villages and towns, hiding in the woods or caves during the day, traveling at night under the cover of her cloak. She followed the map that Rix had given her, heading towards the Dragon's Pine Mountains. She reached them after another week of travel. They were huge. They rose up from the ground like giant spikes, piercing the sky with their jagged peaks. They were covered with snow and ice, creating a stark contrast with the green land below. Lira felt a chill in her bones as she looked at them. She wondered how she would ever cross them. Chapter 5. Lira spent several days looking for a way to cross the mountains. She tried different paths, but they all led to dead ends or dangers. She encountered avalanches and landslides, blizzards and storms, wolves and bears. She had to use her magic and her skills to survive and escape. She was running out of time and resources. She knew she had to find a way to cross the mountains soon, or she would fail her mission. Lira finally found a way to cross the mountains. She discovered a hidden tunnel that led to the other side. It was an old tunnel carved by the dragons themselves long ago. It was dark and narrow, but it was safe and fast. Lira entered the tunnel, using her magic to create a small flame in her hand to light her way. She walked for hours, feeling the cold and the pressure of the rock around her. She emerged from the tunnel into a different world. She saw a valley that was surrounded by the mountains, creating a natural barrier from the outside. The valley was filled with green grass and colorful flowers, sparkling streams and waterfalls, fruit trees and berry bushes. And in the center of the valley, she saw a castle. It was a magnificent castle built of stone and wood, with towers and spires and domes. It had banners and flags of various colors and symbols flying in the wind. It had windows and balconies that overlooked the valley, shining with light. And on top of the highest tower, she saw a dragon. It was a majestic dragon, larger than any creature she had ever seen. It had scales of gold and red, horns of silver and black, eyes of emerald and ruby. It had wings that spanned across the sky, claws that could tear through metal, teeth that could crush stone. It was the Dragon King. He was sleeping, curled around his tower like a giant snake. He was breathing slowly and deeply, creating puffs of smoke and fire with every exhale. Lira felt a surge of awe and fear as she looked at him. She wondered how she would ever steal his egg. Chapter 6. Lira knew she had to act fast. She had to find the dragon egg and get out of the valley before the Dragon King woke up. She ran towards the castle, hoping to find a way in. She used her magic to create a small shield around her, deflecting any sensors or alarms that might detect her presence. She reached the castle and looked for an entrance. She saw a large gate that was guarded by 2 soldiers. They wore armor and helmets that resembled dragon scales and carried swords and spears that resembled dragon claws and teeth. They looked alert and ready. Lira knew she couldn't fight them. She had to trick them. She used her magic to create an illusion of a small girl dressed in rags and holding a basket of flowers. She made the girl appear near the gate, crying and calling for help. The soldiers saw the girl and lowered their weapons. They felt pity and curiosity for her. "Hey, little one, what are you doing here?" one of them asked. "Please, sir, can you help me?" the girl said in a sobbing voice. "I'm lost and hungry and cold." "Where are your parents?" the other soldier asked. "They're dead," the girl said. "The Empire killed them. They burned our village and took everything we had." The soldiers looked at each other with sympathy and anger. They hated the Empire as much as anyone in Illyria. "Come here, child," the first soldier said. "We'll take you inside and give you some food and warmth." He opened the gate and gestured for the girl to come in. Lira seized the opportunity. She dropped the illusion and ran past the soldiers, entering the castle. The soldiers realized they had been fooled. They shouted and chased after her. But it was too late. Lira was inside. Chapter 7. Lira ran through the castle, looking for the dragon egg. She didn't know where it was, but she had a feeling it was somewhere high and protected. She followed the stairs and corridors that led to the upper floors, avoiding any guards or servants that crossed her path. She used her magic to create small distractions or illusions to divert their attention or to open locked doors or windows. She reached the top floor and saw a large door that was guarded by 4 soldiers. They wore the same armor and weapons as the ones at the gate, but they also had badges and medals that indicated their rank and status. They were elite guards, loyal and skilled. Lira knew she couldn't trick them. She had to fight them. She used her magic to create a blast of fire that hit them from behind. They screamed and dropped their weapons, trying to put out the flames. Lira took advantage of their confusion and ran towards the door. She kicked it open and entered the room. She saw the dragon egg. It was a large egg, about the size of a human. It had scales of gold and red, horns of silver and black, eyes of emerald and ruby. It was resting on a pedestal that was surrounded by candles and crystals. It was glowing with a soft light. It was beautiful. Lira felt a surge of awe and greed as she looked at it. She wanted it. She ran towards it, reaching out her hand to grab it. But she stopped. She heard a voice in her mind. A voice that was deep and powerful. A voice that was angry and hurt. A voice that belonged to the Dragon King. "Who are you?" the voice asked. "Why are you here? What do you want with my egg?" Chapter 8. Lira was stunned by the voice in her mind. She felt a wave of fear and guilt wash over her. She realized she had made a terrible mistake. She looked at the egg and saw that it was not just an object. It was a living being. It was the Dragon King's child. She had tried to steal his child. She felt a sudden connection to the egg, as if it could sense her emotions and thoughts. She felt its curiosity and confusion, its innocence and warmth. She felt its love for its father. She felt ashamed. She dropped her hand and backed away from the egg. "I'm sorry," she said aloud. "I'm so sorry." The voice in her mind spoke again. "Sorry for what?" it asked. "Sorry for invading my home? Sorry for attacking my guards? Sorry for attempting to take my egg?" Lira didn't know what to say. She knew she had no excuse for her actions. She looked around and saw that the guards had recovered from the fire and were entering the room. They pointed their swords and spears at her, ready to kill her. She knew she had no chance of escaping. She closed her eyes and waited for the end. But it didn't come. Instead, she heard a loud roar that shook the castle and the valley. She opened her eyes and saw that the Dragon King had woken up. He had flown from his tower and was hovering above the castle. He had seen what had happened and was furious. He breathed a stream of fire that hit the guards, burning them to ashes. He then turned his gaze to Lira, who was frozen with fear. He spoke to her mind again. "You have angered me beyond measure," he said. "You have violated my sanctuary and endangered my egg. You deserve to die." Lira felt a surge of pain in her head, as if he was squeezing her brain with his mind. She fell to her knees and clutched her head, screaming. "Please," she begged. "Please, spare me." The Dragon King paused. He sensed something in her voice. Something that made him curious. He looked at her more closely. He saw that she was young and frail, but also brave and clever. He saw that she had magic in her blood, but also goodness in her heart. He saw that she had acted out of greed, but also out of curiosity. He saw that she was like him. He spoke to her mind again. "Why did you do it?" he asked. "Why did you try to steal my egg?" Lira looked at him with tears in her eyes. She told him the truth. "I did it for money," she said. "I work for a smuggler who deals in rare and illegal goods. He told me to find and steal your egg for one of his clients. He paid me a lot of money for it." The Dragon King frowned. "Who is this client?" he asked. "Who would want my egg?" Lira shook her head. "I don't know," she said. "I never met him. I only know his name." "What is his name?" the Dragon King asked. Lira hesitated. She knew she was risking her life by revealing this information, but she also knew she owed it to the Dragon King. She said the name. "Emperor Nero." The Dragon King roared again. He recognized the name. He knew who Emperor Nero was. He was the ruler of the empire that had conquered most of the world. He was the enemy of all free people and creatures. He was the killer of dragons. He wanted his egg for a sinister purpose. He spoke to Lira's mind again. "You have done me a great service by telling me this," he said. "You have saved me from a terrible fate." He released his grip on her mind, easing her pain. He then did something unexpected. He offered her a choice. "You can stay here with me and my egg," he said. "You can learn from me and help me protect my child. You can be part of my family. Or you can go back to your world," he continued. "You can take your money and forget about this place. You can live your life as you please." He paused and waited for her answer. Lira was shocked by his offer. She didn't know what to say or do. She looked at him and saw his power and wisdom, his anger and sorrow, his loneliness and hope. She looked at the egg and felt its life and warmth, its wonder and joy, its trust and love. She looked at herself and saw her past and present, her dreams and fears, her regrets and desires. She made up her mind. She chose. Chapter 9. Lira looked at the Dragon King and said, "I want to stay with you and your egg. I want to learn from you and help you protect your child. I want to be part of your family." The Dragon King smiled. He felt a surge of relief and gratitude. He spoke to her mind again. "Thank you, Lira," he said. "You have made me very happy. You are welcome in my home and in my heart." He flew down from the sky and landed near the castle. He stretched out his wing and invited Lira to climb on his back. Lira hesitated for a moment, then accepted his offer. She climbed on his back and held on to his scales. She felt his muscles and bones move under her, his breath and heartbeat sync with hers. She felt a bond form between them, a bond of trust and respect, a bond of friendship and love. The Dragon King lifted off the ground and soared into the air. He flew over the valley, showing Lira his domain. He showed her the beauty and diversity of nature, the harmony and happiness of his people, the secrets and wonders of magic. He also told her his name. He said it was Zephyr. Lira smiled. She liked his name. She liked him. She said her name too. She said it was Lira. Zephyr smiled. He liked her name. He liked her. They flew together, enjoying each other's company. They flew towards the sunrise, towards a new day, towards a new life. They flew towards their future. The end.